Brand new documentary Air Force Elite Thunderbirds is coming to Netflix on May 23rd. And joining me now is Lieutenant Colonel Justin Astro Elliott, as well as Director Matt Wilcox. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you both?
Good morning.
Good morning, Blake.
So just for kind of some context, and whichever of you can answer this one, kind of provide some information on what the Thunderbirds are for our viewers that may not be aware.
Absolutely. I'll take that one. So the team was founded in 1953, right in the middle of the Korean War. And I'd say the purpose of the team is to unite in divided times and build trust in the American institution. And we do that with 6 red, white, and blue fighter jets that fly air shows across the world throughout the year. And it's the squadron required to do that is 135 people with 31 different job types to be able to bring that show to the American population. One of the unique things that I think most people wouldn't know about the team is that every member of the team is one deep, is single. So there are no substitutes, no spare pilots. I can't put somebody into a position that wasn't there. Those are the 6 people that fly that demonstration that you see no matter what show you go to.
Wow. Well, and another interesting thing kind of, tagging onto that is the fact that every year it's like half new and half returning. So Astro, can you kind of tell me why that's how it works? I thought that was pretty interesting.
Absolutely. The documentary covers it well, but the purpose behind that is because we are the U.S. Air Force. So we have a lot to do. We are, the members that fly on that team are combat pilots by trade. We never isolate somebody just into that demonstration role. We have you build your career up to that 10-year point for the youngest members of the team and 20-year point for the old guy on the team to be able to build enough of a reputation to then demonstrate that level of excellence to the American population. And just as soon as you get it, we need to cycle you out so that you can continue to grow in the Air Force and continue to lead in the Air Force. And that makes a really difficult challenge for us to cycle through the team every single year and build a new culture from scratch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love that aspect of it. Now, Matt, I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit more about kind of your director role and involvement with this project, and also why it was important for you to kind of, be a part of this story?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think for me, I've been a huge aviation nerd my whole life. I have, fond memories going to air shows with my dad and seeing jet teams like the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels. And, once you get hit with that afterburner that rocks your soul, I think it leaves a lasting impact. But, for me, where the story really started was really pulling the curtain back to what it takes to do this. I think it's almost unfair to look up at the sky and see these jets flying perfectly and assume that it's easy. But I think where we really try to unpack a more powerful story is to dig in with these characters and just, especially like you mentioned, or we talked about, the 2-year cycle, we kind of anticipated there would be a lot of adversity of a team trying to come together, trying to learn to fly a demo that is completely different than air combat flying. So that really was the goal for us, was to dig into the human side and get to know these people who are flying the jets and the 135 members of the team who are supporting them.
Yeah. Well, I did watch the screener, and I want to just put it out there that I think you did a beautiful job of kind of depicting what you just said, that very humanistic side of these, very strong men who, and women who in other ways, people may never really see as, everyday humans. And that's what you guys are ultimately. So it really was an interesting depiction of it. Now, Astro, I'm also curious, something the film does really well is really kind of depicts those highs and lows, right? Like you guys are essentially performing, quote unquote, for these crowds, and there's a lot of triumph associated with that, but there's also a lot of loss associated with the history of the Thunderbirds. So what is kind of like the highs and lows like of being a part of, this aspect of the Air Force?
What's fascinating is that those highs and lows happen in large swaths, but they also happen every day. And I'll give you a great example of that. I think every Air Force commander probably feels very similarly. I'd say if you had to pick an emotion that we go through the most, it would be guilt. Because at any given time, you feel guilty. Am I being good enough in the airplane to fly well? Am I being good enough for my people as a commander? Am I being good enough for my family at back home? So at any point, you're balancing, maybe 1 or 2 out of 3 of those things. And it's this constant cycle of highs and lows. We all go through it. I'm assuming that Americans go through that in every walk of life. I know Matt does, getting to know him over the last few years. And I think it's important to acknowledge that when you're trying to do something extraordinary in any field, that you're gonna go through those waves of ups and downs, and that's okay. It's okay to press through that instead of having that, perfect social media life. It's not real. What's real is challenges that you have to overcome every single day.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's a beautiful kind of closing statement there. So, Astro Matt, thank you guys so much for your time this morning. Air Force Elite Thunderbirds coming to Netflix on May 23rd. Check it out.